it's so amazing and refreshing, and just like the feeling, I can't even describe the feeling. Like I feel it's a completeness and a wholeness to have someone where you know that they support you and they love you and they encourage you just as much as you're giving to them. Especially for me, because like I'm very much a person who loves to be nurturing. Like I don't know, it just comes natural. Whereas like I want to be nurturing to other people, right? And I want to make sure other people are taken care of. And so to be able to receive that from my husband equally, and without it being like forceful or I have to tell him and I have to show him how to do it. Like it's just we just do it for each other. And it's so graceful. It's just an amazing thing. What's up, real ones? Welcome back to the Real Relationship Podcast, where we're bringing the real back to relationships.
Yes, sir.
I'm Asha Steele.
I'm Devin Steele.
And we're so excited that you guys are tuning in today with us.
Yeah, we got a good episode for y'all today.
Like always,
because there's a lot of stuff going on out here in these streets that we got to discuss, because we discuss everything relationships and marriage on this podcast, because we think that everything can be a teaching moment, right? So we approach everything. We don't try to be too crazy, but we try to take the lessons from the things that we are seeing on social media, because it has such an influence on relationships and marriage today that if they're not discussed, you miss out on an opportunity for people to learn from other people's mistakes so that you don't make the same in y'all relationship or marriage. But we got some things we got to talk about.
Yes, y'all. And so we're going to get into the keeping it real moment, okay?
You jumping right in?
I'm going to jump right in unless you have some announcements. You have something
I ain't got no announcement. Clearly, you got some stuff you got to get off your chest, so go ahead.
Listen, because like you said, there has been things surfacing on social media recently, and I don't know if you guys have seen the videos. The initial video, which I think a lot of people will remember it from, was from a couple and the young woman they were referring to as the helmet of salvation, right? And we put that out there. Y'all all know what I'm talking about. I ain't gonna name no names too much of the other party because I'm gonna keep it cute. But if you saw that video, a lot of people was referencing the woman as that because of what she was talking about, right? But today we are going to bring light to who she is, of not being the helmet of salvation, but being Derrick Jackson. And speaking her name for what it is, and not like trying to downplay who she is, because the recent video that we saw of her on an interview, the podcast that she had did, Dear Wifey Podcast,
shout out to them for giving her a platform.
Absolutely. She was speaking her truth and what she experienced in her relationship. And when I tell y'all, if y'all have not seen the clips, haven't seen the full episode video, go watch it, because to me, it was so eye-opening, right? Because just like so many other people who were introduced to her through that video, you kind of, from however long that, interview that she had did alongside her husband at the time was, you got this perspective of her, this idea of who she was just based off of that, right? And a lot of people were judging her and criticizing her and was like, oh, she's crazy. I understand why he may have done A, B, C, and D. But after hearing her story in depth, I'm just like, listen, there's no way. And this is really what my Keeping It Real is all about. There is no way that some of these individuals on social media can have a platform that's so big and grow it so big and be teaching and trying to help other individuals, when in reality, they are doing the complete opposite. Right. Like, it's so disturbing to me that in this world today that we live in, people put on such a mask and a front to try to put themselves out there like there's something that they're not. And we talked about this so many times on the podcast. I'm getting chills. We talked about this so many times on the podcast about how you have certain values and integrity to be the man that you are in your house, behind closed doors, to your family, and not go out in the world and present yourself as something that you're not, exhibiting to the people in your house that you love and that's closest to you. Right. And hearing her story, it crushed my heart first for her that she had to experience any of what she experienced. But the fact that you're with this man who's portraying something to a whole audience, which is basically an audience full of women, about what they should be expecting of a man and how a man should be treating them, when you have the audacity to treat your wife the way that you're treating. And it was very disturbing to me. I was very taken back by it, and I had to keep it real, because it's just like, I don't understand why so many people are doing this on social media.
Why do you think so many women fell for? I'm gonna just say this. Let me just lay this out there, because I know we talked about this before about what's influencing your influencer. That was one of our episodes a long time ago. And one of the reasons why we made that episode is because we wanted to make people aware that everybody is not living the life that they portray on social media. A lot of people are a different person on stage than they are off the stage. Right. And I never even talked about this before, but when we first got into this, we had Derrick on one of our lives. Mind you, I didn't know him. Like, I played football for years. I wasn't following the Shade Room then. I wasn't in tune on what was going on social media, or, relationship experts and all that stuff. I didn't know anything about that. But when we got into this business, I started to learn about who were the mover and shakers in the relationship space. And one of the things that you do to grow your platform is you do things with people. Like, you have lives with them to grow your social media. So I was like, oh, this dude has a pretty big following. Let's bring him on our live just to talk about relationships. So we had him on the live, and then the news broke, and I'm like, what? I'm like, yo, I didn't know nothing about him, but I didn't know he was out here doing this, because how else was he able to build such a large audience? So me, I'm like a straight shooter. Like, I don't really hold my tongue when it comes to things. So I think I DM'd him. I'm like, yo, like, what type of sucker time are you on where you come on our platform speaking all this stuff and you doing your wife crazy? And he shot me back a message, was like, oh, bro, big bro, don't listen to them. Let me call you real quick. Mind you, I don't even know my man. So I'm like, all right, whatever. So he calls me when the news breaks, and he starts to explain everything that was going on, but it just didn't seem right. It seemed like a bunch of lies, like he was trying to cover it up. So to see what is going on now, to finally hear his wife's story, it's just like, man, how the heck can you be? Like, how can you be like that? Like, you went online speaking, trying to speak life and help women heal who have been through some traumatic experience in relationships. Meanwhile, you're not even taking care of home. Yeah. And it just reminded me of how much trauma is really out there. We talk a lot about healing from trauma on this podcast, because it's so important when you're going into a relationship. Because even after the news broke, you would see so many women still supporting his movement and his message. And it makes you wonder, what have they been through in their life that draws them to people that are like that? Yeah. And it's, for me, one of the things I see happen a lot, and I think that this happens with women often, is that y'all look for saviors. Like, if you've been through a traumatic experience, you're looking for that savior out there. You're looking for that perfect man that you can fantasize about having one day. And it doesn't exist. There is no man out there that is perfect, not even me. And the problem I see, not just on social media, but you also see this in the church setting, is where sometimes women will put these gurus on social media on a pedestal. They will hold them in high regard over their boyfriend or over their spouse. They will hold the pastor in high regard over their boyfriend, over their spouse. They will say things like, why can't you be more like this person on Instagram? Why can't you be more like Pastor Troy, or whatever you want to name your pastor? And it's just like, you don't know who these people really are. Even me. And somebody had asked me, like, why do men always make videos or have podcasts directed towards women? Like, you have to understand, ladies, y'all got to understand how much influence you have in the business space. Like, y'all have about 85% of all the consumer influence with spending. Y'all, So you will see a lot of these men pandering to women. You will see a lot of these podcasts pandering to women because y'all spend the money. Y'all make the business go round. So they talk to y'all more than they talk to men because they feel like they can manipulate y'all to spend money with them. Like, one thing I would never want to do, because I put out a lot of content that's focused around family, focused around marriage, focused around relationships, focused around parenting. I don't care how good of a father you think I am, how good of a husband you think I am. Don't ever put me on a pedestal over your own spouse, over your own boyfriend. Because Instagram, social media, podcasts can all be edited. Not saying that I show up in this space a different person than I really am, but if I wanted to, I could. And that's what a lot of people are doing, because when you look at a lot of these experts or gurus, when you really sit back and look, it's like, yo, where is your spouse? Where is your girlfriend? Where is your wife? Like, one of the things I wanted to do with this podcast is bring my wife along, because I wanted y'all to see her. I wanted y'all to hear her perspective. I wanted y'all to hear both sides in this. And I know my wife don't have no problem calling me out on my BS. If I show up on this, somebody other than I really am inside her home, she gonna call me out on this. So, like, there has to be better discernment out here, because everybody talking on social media is not an expert. They're not a guru. There's a lot of information in the social media world, but there's a lack of wisdom. People are just talking. And a lot of people are getting hurt because they don't have discernment of who they can trust and who they shouldn't trust.
Yeah. And I think it's not even about people just being experts on social media. I think it's just people having a certain amount of morals and values and integrity to be able to be an upstanding person behind closed doors. And when you walk outside that home, I think that's the biggest thing that is just like, we've seen it with several people. But just with this situation that just occurred, it's just like who you are, who you show up as in this world every day should be who you're striving to be on and off of social media. It shouldn't be I'm logging onto social media and putting on a front and doing these videos or trying to present myself as a certain way that I'm not in real life. And I know that a lot of people, like you said, we're all humans. We have flaws, we have faults. No one is perfect. And you strive to be better. But when you're intentionally doing things and you're not striving to do something better, but you keep, putting yourself out there like you are, it's so manipulative and it's damaging to the community. Because a lot of people, like you said, and this goes into the discussion today, but a lot of women who are in a position of following a man, whether he be on social media speaking to the masses or even if they're accepting that man in their life that's doing that to them, is you're coming from a place of hurt. You're coming of a place of insecurity. You're coming of a place of just feel like you're seeking something that you've lost. Mm-hmm. And even hearing her story from what she was expressing, and even being in a place before where I was tolerating BS from men previously. It's like you're accepting certain behavior because you're seeking something to fill the void that has nothing to do with that man, right? You may have a void from your childhood. You may have a void from something that you experience on your own outside of that individual. But when you have someone to fill, especially a man, to fill that void that he didn't cause, and then you sit up there and like you said, you put him on this pedestal and it's like, oh, well, this is fixing the pain that I felt. That's not going to do it, because the moment that man messes up, now you're going to start to go down a tunnel. You're going to go deeper and deeper and sink because it's like, now I'm replacing the hurt and the pain that I didn't heal on my own with this person. And if they add to that hurt and that pain, then it's going to make me go deeper and deeper into a hole. And I'm accepting certain things and I wanting to, acknowledge and not see and tolerate certain things because I don't want to fill that void again. I don't want to feel that pain. I don't want to feel that absence. I want them to still be there. And so we accept a lot of BS.
Yeah. And she talked about that a lot too. Yeah. She talked about the fact that she didn't heal from a lot of trauma that she went through. And then look how that ended up for her. And it's the same thing whether you're talking about getting into a relationship that's unhealed or following people's word on social media when you're not healed.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I'm not telling you in order to get in a relationship, you have to be completely healed, because that wasn't the case with you either. But you have to start going on that healing journey so that you can lift those goggles off of your eyes, so you're not blinded by some of the same characteristics or traits within the new person that you experienced in the old person. Mm-hmm. One of the things that I think helped you along your journey is me understanding what you've been through. Matter of fact, you being vulnerable and talking about what you've been through early on in our relationship, so that I knew how to handle you with care.
Right.
A lot of people are not even aware of the trauma and the impact that it's having on them, because they think that they go by that saying that time heals all. Time heals nothing if you don't do anything with that time. And you're starting to see this show up. Like, it's so present on social media, the amount of trauma that people have experienced from relationships.
Right. And it's not even, it's so deep that you can go into it, but it's just like, not even just with him as an individual putting things out there, and you like seeing that, and you wanted to like listen to that and follow that because of your pain and your hurt that you're going through.
Yeah.
But it's like, literally, your healing process is a journey for you, right? It's a journey for you to experience things no outside person, as far as like, a guru or someone on social media, can really help you heal fully, right? Mm-hmm. Like, it's so much self-reflection and internal work that you have to do on your own. That's not going to be, motivated by someone else, right? Because like we had said, you can easily be motivated one day and 1 second, 1 minute, and it be turned off, right? And you completely like, okay, I feel like I'm failing on my healing journey, or I'm failing on my process of life because I'm not motivated today.
Right.
So much of it has to do with you. But when we're putting so much of our ideas of what we want in the future of a man and another individual, or what we want for our healing process, or how things look like for us and another being, that's where it starts to get like damaging, right? For us. Because if you can see, like you said, if you can see, this person has done their spouse wrong, right? And look at all these things that have happened. And I know that I felt pain, and I felt this before, and I felt the same pain that she has felt, but I'm still following this individual, and I'm still listening to what they have to say.
I'm gonna forgive him more than I forgave my ex.
It's the internal work that you have yet to do, that has only to do with you. Not just to do with you, but you, and I believe in God. So it has to do with the work that I'm doing with myself and God, to say, okay, I need to figure out what it is so that I can have this breakthrough for myself. Right. But these words from this individual, it's not going to provide me that.
No, man. Y'all just got, like I said, y'all just got to be wary about who y'all are listening to, who y'all allowing to influence your relationship. What are your credentials? Have you ever even been married? Are you in a marriage? Like, what have you actually been through? Because there's one thing, like, even in this relationship space, like, there's times I see people who are speaking about marriage who are not married, who have not been married. And you can read all the books that you want to read, but until you've been in this thing, until you've been in the trenches, I don't want to hear nothing you talk about. Like, I want to hear from people who are knowledgeable on the background of family and marriage, as far as theoretical. But I also want to know that you've experienced that you have actually applied the things that you are teaching people to your own relationship, and what impact has that had? Yeah. One of the things that we talk about, like, we have a background. We talk about different interventions or different things that you can do to increase your relationship satisfaction, but it's not just things that we've read in a book. It's not something that I just learned in school or Asha learned in her coaching program. Like, these are things that, okay, we learned this. Now let's execute this in our marriage to see if it can help us overcome certain things. Mm-hmm. That's when you gain a lot of wisdom, is by applying the things that you're actually out there learning. So, put the people through the fire, put them through the test, because they have a huge impact on your marriage and your relationship, which has a huge impact on your life. So just because a 30-second clip sounds good on social media, man, vet the people that y'all are listening to, because it could be detrimental if you just take people for face value, because social media weird, man.
Yeah.
So you got that off your chest?
Yeah. I mean,
because I know you didn't want to
deeper.
Yeah, and I know you didn't even want to really get into this, but I think that as a wife, when we were watching it together, the hurt that I seen on your face from seeing another wife go through something like that, it was like, yo, we don't focus on drama on this podcast, but you got to speak up because it's a sisterhood. Like, y'all got to protect each other.
Like you said, like, this is not the gossip blogs. I'm not into that. I will not be into that. We will not be into that. But like you said, when you see videos circulating and it's basically like current news, current events of what's going on in the social media world, and it's to that magnitude, like, it's just like you have to just speak on it.
Because of the influence he has.
Right.
That's
but not
why you
even
really
just
got to
him.
speak.
It's not even just for him. It's just because I know, and even reading the comments, it's so many women that have experienced that.
Yeah.
So it's bigger than him because he's only one man. And like we said, people are flawed. And it's plenty of people probably that have been in a position similar to him that have done the same thing. And no one knows their story. But it's the fact that so many women have dealt with this. And so many women are dealing with this. And I think that's powerful about what she's doing and sharing her story and her healing process. But it's just like, you got to talk about this and you got to let people, other individuals, know that you're not alone and that you can come out of this, and to realize that you don't have to stay in that. You don't have to tolerate that. You don't have to sacrifice yourself, your soul and who you are for this individual. Like, you don't have to do that. And so I think that's why it like really touched me, because it's just like, nah, it wasn't cool. Yeah. So yeah, moving right along to the message from a real one.
Let's get into this message from a real one. All right. So it says, my wife and I have been married for 1 year. It started off good. We never really had any disagreements, but lately it has been nonstop. I'm trying to be a good husband, but she's difficult to deal with. It's like nothing I do is enough. If I'm being real, I feel like I made a mistake getting married. How do you feel about that,
Ash? So 1 year into it, right? Mm-hmm. No backstory how long they've been longer than that.
How long it took them before they got married?
I think it's where some people think that, the beginning of marriages, or even the first year, the first few months or whatever, you're like in this honeymoon phase. Yeah. I think is like when the smoke clears, the high of the wedding and planning and the dress and the suit and all of that stuff that you put into the wedding day settles, and you're in the marriage. That's when you got to really deal with some stuff. Like, this is real. And I think that's when you really, like, the work begins. Right. Like, it's for a lifetime and it's not going to be easy. So I feel like it's just the beginning. Like, you're going to go through disagreements. Even if you said put in beforehand premarital counseling, or if you was to have certain conversations, or y'all did work through things before, you're with that person for a lifetime, right? Mm-hmm. And it was things that you saw in them that made you say, I want to take this step and be with you for a lifetime. So you have to understand that it's not going to be easy. Yeah. And like we said all the time, there's resources and there's ways that you can work through the difficulties and the challenges that you're going through, but you have to seek the guidance, right? You have to seek the sources, and y'all both have to have those tough, in-depth conversations about what it is that y'all are going through, and really listen to each other and be a sounding board for each other and really try to work through that. Because if this year 1, baby, year 5, year 10, like, it's going to be challenging. You never know what life throws at you. And so I think that you got to really dig deeper into what it is that you're going through and have those conversations, and really, if it is seeking help, if y'all have to go to counseling, then do that.
Yeah. I'm going to answer this message by talking about our situation, right? And I hope you forgive me for saying this right now, but there was a moment in time where I felt like you were difficult to deal with, because I felt like you kept wanting me to be somebody I didn't know how to be. Mm-hmm. So I looked at you as difficult. I would ask myself, like, why does she always want this from me? Why does she want that? Why does she complain about this? And I wanted you to change so bad until I had a certain shift in my perspective. When I started to realize that, and I want everybody listening to understand this, that things and people are only difficult when you don't know how they work. And when you think about when we started this podcast, when we first just jumped into it, it was difficult to do because we didn't have any background. We didn't know how this podcast and stuff worked. Mm-hmm. But when we started to do our research, we started to learn, this became easy. And it was the same thing with you. The moment I decided to become a student of you, the moment that I had the desire to understand and respect who you were at your core, you stopped being difficult. So if you think that your partner is difficult, if you think that your spouse is difficult, stop trying to change them. Stop praying and hoping that they change and become a student of your partner. Learn who they are, because when you do that, when you understand your partner, you will start to operate in a different way because you understand their triggers. Mm-hmm. You understand why they respond to certain things in a certain way. So you start to handle them with more care, and that completely changed. So I don't think that you made a mistake marrying the person. I just think that you relied on that feeling of bliss to last forever, and you didn't take the time to actually get to learn who your wife is. So take the time to take a step back and say, look, let's really learn each other. Let's find out who we are at our core so we can coexist in the same space and really grow together, get old together. A lot of people are not taking the time out to really get to know who their partner or who their spouse is. So they start to run into these challenges, because it's been a game changer for me and you. Like, we really know each other. Mm-hmm. Like, if you look at the video that we're going to play a little bit later, when I was confessing my love for you and what I needed more from you in our last podcast, like, when I looked at you, I had a physiological response by what I saw on your face. I had an emotional response by your facial expression. Like, that's how in tune with you I am, is that I can feel what you feel just by looking at you. And when you take the time to really get to learn your partner in that way, man, your partner goes from being difficult to being a blessing.
Yeah. It's funny that you touched on that, because I was actually reading a book, and it expressed how when you're having those disagreements in your relationship, a lot of people want to have a solution of that person agreeing with them, right? Mm-hmm. Like, we don't see eye to eye, and I need you to see eye and eye with me. But it gets a lot easier when you're able to respect and understand each other's disagreements and different viewpoints, and to say, you know what, I don't have to change that, right? Like you said, I don't have to change that, and I don't have to see it your way, but I can respect your way. I can respect and understand the way that you view things. And I think that's the biggest thing for a lot of people, because when you go into a situation where you're in a relationship, you're wanting so much for that person to see things your way and to get what you're feeling. And you forget that, well, they want you to see it their way too, right? Yeah. They want you to understand how they're feeling. So when we're able to just kind of like knock down that wall that we're building up I want it like this, I want it like that, and say, you know what, I understand how you feel that way. Right. I may not agree, but I understand and I respect that. And we don't have to agree on this. We can see things differently, but I'm going to respect you because I love you. I think that's a big game changer in a relationship.
Yeah, don't give up on your marriage, man. Put in the work.
Yeah.
Put in the work to try to fix this thing, because even if you move on to the next person, you're going to have to learn them too. There's going to be things that you don't like about them too. There are going to be things that you're going to have to change about yourself, because if you feel like she's difficult, I know she think that you difficult.
Yeah.
So you might as well just put in the work now. You made the commitment, and with marriage, your commitment got to stand long past the moment that you made that commitment in. A lot of times we get up to the altar, we got all our family and friends there, everything buzzing, we having a good time. We say, I do, we mean it. Then when that wedding ends and we go back home and it's just me and you inside the house, and we got to deal with some real issues, the real challenges that come with creating a life with somebody, the first thought that we have is to run away. That commitment is gone. But you got to ask yourself, when you get married, can I stay committed in the moments where the moment I made that commitment has long passed? Mm-hmm. And if you if you need to ask that question before you get married, before you even say I do. Like when I get up to this altar and I tell this person till death do us part, through sickness and health, will I hold on to that commitment long past the moment I made that commitment has passed? I think that's what the issue is with a lot of marriages. You mean it on that day. I know you do. Mm-hmm. You mean it because y'all be crying, sobbing. You watch your wife, your bride coming down that aisle and y'all just crying. Your boy's trying to pass you a little tissue, telling you to straighten up. Like you crying as you walking down those stairs or walking down the aisle. Like I get to spend the rest of my life with this man. And when y'all say I do, y'all mean it. And then life smacks you in the face and you like, I mean, psych. That's how R&B, psych, just playing. Gotcha. But nah, man, this stuff takes work. Mm-hmm. You got to stay committed. When the love fades away, when you feel like you don't like your partner no more, that's when the commitment got to kick in and you like, you know what? We said we're going to do this. Let's figure this out. That has been the case for us.
Yeah, absolutely. But getting into today's topic, you guys, we are discussing what we call a painful perspective, right? And we came to this topic of discussion because there was a video that Devin had posted for our anniversary, right? And
because I love my wife.
To my surprise, it was very controversial. Mm-hmm. I wasn't expecting some of the comments. So we're going to play a clip of this video and then we're going to discuss it.
All right, go ahead. There's nothing more attractive. There's nothing more powerful than a woman that can speak life into you, because it's hard being a leader. It's hard taking on the responsibility of a household as a provider, not just of finances, but of protection, of guidance, of understanding, of friendship. And when you have a woman by your side that doesn't beat you down when you're down, but yet she speaks life into you to lift you up, there is nothing more powerful and more attractive than a woman that's able to do that. And from day one, you have been that to me.
I'm about to cry. Why are you both about to cry? Ew.
That was crazy. I looked at your face and I saw your emotion and it just got me choked up.
Okay.
But everything that I have done in my life, you have been there to say, yo, I'm your biggest cheerleader. So that's what I need.
Well, you know, I got you and I got us. I love you. So you would think that hearing that video, right? It's like, oh, that's beautiful.
You would think,
husband and wife having a great moment. They, embracing each other. They support each other.
Something
they love
that
each
you
other.
don't normally see on social media.
Where was the negativity? I didn't hear it. But we had some comments that just saw that in a negative aspect.
It stood out.
And so we definitely had to discuss it. I definitely wanted to touch on it because it was a lot. So we're going to unpack this, okay?
Yeah, mind you, this video had about 1.5 million views. Mm-hmm. Over, I believe, like 1,800 comments. And if we keep it real, majority of the comments were positive.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But the negative always has a bigger impact than the positive. That's just a known fact. So these negative comments really stuck out that we just wanted to talk about, because it was probably about a third negative comments. Mm-hmm. So let's read some of the comments and then I'll let you go ahead and start to discuss. One of the comments says, "Child, Black women been speaking life into them for centuries. Still no provision or protection around. In fact, it's the opposite." Next one says, "Speak life into your damn self. I'm sick of hearing this BS." Next one says, "We do all that and still get cheated on." Crying emoji. The next one says, "Women do that and then they get left. It's important to find a man who already speaks life into himself, and you're just an added bonus. Nothing is more draining than having to speak complete and total life into someone, to try and convince someone of their worth. You build them, and most times they don't appreciate you, and once they feel worthy, they abandon you. This isn't a personal experience, but I learned it from the stories of others. Now that's different." That is different. Next one says, yawn. I'm tired of listening to this BS on all these platforms. Seems like women are still doing all the work in the relationship. Why y'all can't already come ready? Like, dang.
So, okay. It was really interesting to me. Like you said, it wasn't a lot of negativity compared to the positive comments, but just to see that at all was very alarming to me.
Yeah.
One, because, and I had seen one, I don't know if you read it or not, but someone speaking about how it's weak for a man to have life spoken into him, right?
Yeah.
And
I saw some men say that too.
That was very alarming to me. And I didn't understand it, and I wanted to unpack it because I feel like, which one of the comments said, you do all of that and you still get cheated on. And I feel like a lot of these comments are from people's experience of having to deal with certain individuals who do them wrong, right? Mm-hmm. So you're speaking from a place of brokenness or bitterness or just being hurt, right? Because this person or these people have done me so wrong. I've tried to, be this person. I try to do this. I try to do that. And I feel like they keep not accepting it. They take advantage of it. Right. And so at this spot that I'm in, I'm like, I don't care anymore. And I can say that because I lived in that space. When we first started dating, when we first met, and I feel like I talked about this before, but I had F love on my middle finger. I had love on my middle finger tatted, right? Okay. And so that's why I can understand someone speaking from that space, because when you've dealt with multiple individuals who have hurt you, when you put yourself out there to try to love and try to accept and appreciate and go above and beyond to be there for someone, and you feel like you always get the short end of the stick, you get into this space of just being like, you know what, F everybody. Right? I'm not dealing with them. They this, they that. I don't got time for this. I'm tired of that. And once you get to that space, it's just like the lovey-dovey stuff, the stuff where it's people actually that's in love, the people that's actually supporting them.
That's what she looked like, y'all.
You did not have to draw it.
I wanted them to see this how she was walking around. And I was like, hey, let me see your finger real quick. What that say on your middle finger? I was like, nah. I understand the pain you went through, but listen, I'm a different man. We're going to have to get that erased.
Yes.
So that we can start all over and I don't pay for what he has done to you.
But it's real, because it's real to even, for me, to even mark myself with that type of pain because of what I was feeling externally. I needed everyone externally to know, right? Yeah. And it's sad that a lot of people feel that way. And like I was saying, you get into that space where when you see positive relationships, you see healthy relationships, you see people actually working together and supporting each other the way a man and woman, a husband and wife, a couple is supposed to do, you're looking at it like it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
And so that's why I could understand those comments and those individuals speaking from that point of view, because I felt like, oh, they're speaking from pain.
Yeah.
It's no other way to look at it. And when you felt that, you can understand that's coming from pain. The weakness part is what I didn't understand, right? Because for you to feel like your spouse, and I'm going to just talk from us, right?
Did you see, question before you get into that, did you see most of the weakness comments coming from men or from women?
I've seen it from both.
Okay.
It was kind of like equal, because I didn't see a lot of them, but I guess if I saw like 4, they were, both of them was 2 and 2.
But I want you to understand real quick, and this is not putting all the blame on women, because I know a lot of times as males we shape the way that men think. Mm-hmm. But imagine how many women have told those men that them showing that they're weak for needing life spoken to them, or their mom may have said that to them.
And that's the problem, because to me, that was the most alarming comment. Because when you're with someone, when you're in a relationship, and y'all, if y'all don't know our story of everything that we went through, this man right here, from the time that we first started talking, was dealing with a lot. Like, you talk about, fighting years of injuries to get to the spot of, being in the NFL, which so many men fight to get to and don't even get a chance to step on that field after years of beating themselves up, years of putting in the work, and you get to that spot and you're still battling injuries. Then turn around and you have to worry about your child being diagnosed with cancer, of all things, right? Then you turn around and you're fighting blood clots in your lungs that you could have died from if you had not gone to the hospital sooner. So you're dealing with so many things back to back to back to back to back to back. At some point, right? Don't you think of any individual dealing with so many traumatic experiences that in life, things being thrown at them left and right, that you're going to have days where it's just like, dang, this is hard. And you don't even it doesn't have to be to that magnitude. Life in general is hard. So for anyone to say that someone having their spouse or the person that they're with speak life into them when just waking up could be hard for some people. It blows my mind. And y'all, I don't want to be ignorant, but y'all sound like complete idiots. Because to wake up in a world where it's full of chaos, it's full of negativity, it's full of so much things, hate going on now, and people have to wake up and, wake up and be positive, wake up and go out to work, even if they don't like the position that they in, wake up and gotta strive for greatness because they still have to take care of their family. They may want to get out that situation, but I'm gonna wake up and know that I have to get in this situation that I don't want to be in today so that in the future I can be in a better position, right? And you speaking life into that individual is not weak.
No.
It doesn't make any sense to me. Like, it just blew my mind. And I'm just like, we have been through so much together, right? I have been through so much in my life alone. And I felt like had I had a person, and I'm speaking from a woman, had I had anybody in my life in those moments where I was going through those dark times to speak life into me, who knows where I would have been sooner.
Yeah.
So it was just so crazy for me to see that, because if you love someone, I don't care if it was the husband speaking to the wife or the wife speaking to the husband, that you will want to embrace them. You want to support them. You will want to encourage them. And I feel like maybe because those individuals that were speaking that had a lack of that speaking life into them, it didn't show up for them and they never experienced that opportunity to have someone do that for them. They don't know how to reciprocate it, or they look at it as a negative thing. And I just thought that was so wild to me, because I'm just like, nah, it ain't weak. It's necessary on both ends.
You know what's crazy is when I read, you said a lot of great things that I want to touch on. Hopefully I can make this flow into a way that actually makes sense, because my mind is just all over the place right now. But one of the things that really caught my attention in the comments is the amount of hopelessness there is out there.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of hopelessness out there when it comes to love, when it comes to relationships, when it comes to marriage. And me being a psychology major, like, I can see that when I see the way that people talk, when they formulate their comments. And one of the things that you will learn about hopelessness is that those people who are hopeless believe that things are permanent, pervasive, and personal. What I mean by permanent is that in this context is they think that men are never going to change, because whether it was their own experience or a vicarious experience through somebody else, they think that men are permanently going to be that way forever,
right?
Where they just ain't stuff and they treat women like trash. They think, again, pervasive means that it's not just that one guy who you spoke life into and who treated you bad, but all men are like this, man. Like, there's no man out there who appreciates a woman who has the ability to speak life into them, because you're still going to do them wrong. And again, they take it personal. They think it's a character flaw of men in general. So when I see people have all three of those things when they're referring to that video, it's like, yo, you really don't have no hope for men or for relationships or for marriage. And that is dangerous when people give up and they have to go through life alone, because number one, you can't procreate. Number two, you won't have to do life by yourself. That's hard to do, life by yourself, because there's so many challenges that you can't go through this alone. That doesn't mean you rush into a marriage or something like that. But for most people, you should have the aspiration of doing that so that you are able to build certain things, that you can create certain things, that you can experience certain things that life have to offer when you find that special person to build a life with. So that was really alarming to see that. Another thing, when you talked about all the stuff that we've been through, and I would see this in the comments too about speaking life. A lot of times people think that this is just verbal. That the only way you speak life into your man is by encouraging him to do something with your words. But you can just do that with your presence as well. And I know we're going to touch on how women can speak life into their husbands a little bit later, but I wanted to touch on it now because everything that you talked about, the things that I have been through and how you showed up, I was reminded of one thing that for me personally, I was like, yo, I love this woman a lot. And I can see myself building a life with her because when I first saw you, your looks took my breath away. Like, you was that beautiful to me. When I got diagnosed with those blood clots, I remember me sitting in that hospital bed, right? And I had 3 blood clots in my lungs. I could not breathe. And they gave me that machine to learn how to breathe again, to try to expand my lungs. And I'm sitting in the bed and I'm struggling. And this is probably like 3 o'clock in the morning. Like, we had been in the hospital all night. And I had woke up because I was struggling to breathe. So I grabbed the machine and I start breathing. And I looked over at you and you had put 2 chairs together because you would sit next to me before I fell asleep. When I woke up, you put 2 chairs together and was laid out on the chairs like it was a bed. And it was like -10 degrees inside that hospital. And they gave you this little blanket, little thin blanket.
I mean, freezing.
Yeah, it wasn't one of those heated blankets or nothing. And as I was trying to expand my lungs and use this breathing machine, when I looked at you, it was the first time it hit me that not only does this woman have the ability to take my breath away with her looks, but in that moment, you gave me a reason to breathe. And I was like, bro, I can't go wrong with her. I can't go wrong with her. She can take my breath away and she can give me a reason to breathe. What else would I be looking for in a woman? So a lot of times, I don't think that people really know how to speak life into somebody. But like I said, we're going to go over this because once you are able, as a man, once you are able to identify that in a woman, bro, when you have the right woman in your life, it is a game changer. You feel like freaking Superman. Like, you made me feel like Superman through a lot of those challenges that I know for a fact, if I was doing this by myself, nah, I wouldn't be where I'm at now.
Yeah. And I think that confusion of not understanding what it is or what it looks like to speak life into an individual is what caused a lot of confusion for people, right? Because you don't know, right? And you're thinking, oh, it's me showing up for this person and doing all of these things and exhausting all of myself and not getting it back in return. And that is not what it is to speak life into someone, right? For me personally, I read a book. It's called The Power of the Praying Wife. And it's not so much of what the book said as much as what the title says to me, right? Mm-hmm. That when I see a struggle that you're going through, right? I see a challenge that he's going through, that before anything, I'm going to pray for him, right? I'm going to seek help and guidance for him from God. Yeah. And I think that's the biggest thing because we don't have the answers, but he does. So when I see that, oh, he's having a moment of discouragement or weakness or anything that he's going through, whatever he's fighting at that moment, I'm going to get down on my knees and ask God to guide him in his footsteps, to give him that motivation that he feels like he's lacking, to encourage him in ways that he needs the encouragement. I'm going to pray to him first, and he don't know about it. No.
The one day I walk into your closet and I see a whole prayer wall over there, and I'm like, oh, she in here getting busy.
No, but he don't know about it because not even for nothing, but he doesn't need to know. Because that's a conversation that I'm having with my God about my husband. And I want him to fill this house up and fill this love up and to say, you know what, when we're having problems, when I see my husband having problems, I'm going to go to you because I know that you're the source and I know that you're in control of everything. And so that is why the first thing for me to speak life into him is to always go to prayer. Not only that, but it's times when we pray together, right? I pray for you. And it's been times where I felt like I needed to like grab your hand and pray for you. I know one time specifically when you was traveling and it was just like, you didn't say anything. You had said something before, but I just felt in my soul that I needed to just grab his hand and pray for him at that moment. And it's just like, that's speaking life into someone, whether you know it or not. Right? Because they're not asking for it. They're not seeking it. But if you feel it coming over you, it's just like, I know that this is something you need. I can see something in you, that there's a void or there's something missing and that you're needing something. You may not have the words for what that is. You may not even acknowledge that you're needing something.
I may not even know that I'm about to run into something when I leave this house.
Absolutely. But just having that and being in tune and knowing certain things and just feeling certain things and being aware or just being considerate, it's like, okay, this is what I'm doing, right? It was, and I'm gonna give y'all an example. There was a time where, like you said, we're doing this work that we're doing, right? And for me, I speak very highly of Devin because I've seen a lot of people in life who have gone through challenges and allowed those challenges to defeat them, right? Got knocked down and stayed down. Even though they had the full capability to get back up and try again, it's just like, I got knocked down and I'm gonna stay down here. I'm content with staying down here. And to watch you get knocked down and constantly pick yourself back up and reinvent yourself and change yourself, I know that is challenging and I know that is hard. And to witness that firsthand and to see even now when we're doing the work that we're doing and there's moments and times where it's a struggle or you're stressed out about something or you're trying to figure something out and you may not have quite grasped it, to sit there and be like, you know what, I'm gonna just talk to you, right? Yeah. Let's just have a conversation. It's something as little as just listening and talking to somebody in that moment and taking time out from whatever it is you're doing to just hear them is speaking life into someone. And there's been moments where we've had that where it's just like, oh, I'm struggling right now. I'm trying to figure out and put my finger on what it is that's missing, was not right now. And I'm gonna just talk to you. And we just have a conversation. And at the end of the conversation, you feel lighter and I feel lighter because I feel like I'm being that supportive wife to show up for my husband in that time of need. And it was able to release some sense of stress or some sense of whatever pressure he's going through at that moment, right? And that to me is one of the most rewarding feelings that you can have as a spouse, because you don't want to see the person that you with stressed out. You don't want to see them in a negative space. I will hope not. So when you're able to relieve that stress and it's not even doing anything other than just talking, just listening, you may not even have to say nothing. Right. Sometimes someone just wants you to sit there and be a sounding board and listen to what they're going through. You don't have to offer no advice. I just want to express what I'm going through and have someone hear it. And so I think that is something that also involves speaking life into someone. It doesn't mean I'm draining myself and exhausting myself and doing so much that's so strenuous work that it's just, oh, I don't want to do this. No. And I think when you have someone like you who is equally pouring into me, equally speaking life into me, right? This is a two-way street over here. There's moments and times where I've gone through challenges in my life where I felt like, I don't know how I'm gonna get up today. I don't know what I'm doing with myself. I don't know what direction I'm going in. I have to figure this out. I have to reinvent myself. I'm a mom and I don't know how to maneuver this, right? I'm trying to get adjusted and there's so many things that I'm trying to figure out that I didn't have a manual and didn't have the guidance to growing up. And so now I feel like I'm on my own trying to rework this. And you're there to offer me that support. You're there to offer me that encouragement. You're there to pray for me. It's going both ways. And so I think that's the problem with so many people that were speaking so negatively about it, is because you're not allowing or having someone to pour back into you the same way that you're pouring out, right?
Yeah.
And it's almost like the people that say, oh, if you're filling somebody up, right? You talk about filling up your love taking before, but if you look at a glass, right? If you thirsty and I'm thirsty, right? And I have my glass and I have my glass and I drink it all, you still gonna be thirsty, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if we're equally drinking from that glass, we're not gonna both be thirsty. We're both quenching our thirst. It may not be, oh, we fully fulfilled, but we're both taking from that. So you have to pour into someone just as much as they're pouring out to you. And I think that's where a lot of people are lacking, where they see that as a negative thing because they aren't having that pour back into them.
Yeah. And you can just tell they never experienced it, because it's a beautiful thing when you actually experience that partnership where, like Asha said, y'all are both speaking life into each other.
Yeah.
It's not something that a wife just does to a husband. It's something that a husband does to a wife as well.
Mm-hmm.
But there were a lot of women, and thank you for that segue, because like I said earlier, I didn't know how we were going to like put this together, but you just gave a great segue, because there was a lot of women in the comment section who wanted to learn how to speak life into a man.
Mm-hmm.
And that I'm thankful for. That's what I want to spend the rest of this podcast talking about, because that's encouraging when you see that.
Yeah.
Like, there are people out there that want the knowledge to become the partner that can make a relationship and a marriage strong and healthy and last for a long time. So let's get into 2 ways that you can speak life into your husband. The first one is through encouragement, and the second one is through respect. So let's start with the encouragement. Encouragement is basically just the expression of positive affirmations to instill courage, perseverance, confidence, inspiration, or hope into your husband.
Mm-hmm.
You just are able to speak life into them with your words to affirm them. And this can come in 2 different ways. It can be challenge-focused encouragement versus potential-focused encouragement. Challenge-focused encouragement, which you talked about earlier today, whereas I was going through a lot of stuff in my life and I felt like I was at rock bottom, and you would be there just encouraging me, letting me know that I was strong enough to overcome whatever I was going through, that I didn't have to be there, go through it alone. And like I said earlier, it wasn't always about your verbal approach to it, but it was also just about your physical, just being there physically and giving me that type of encouragement that, all right, it don't matter what I'm going through. Because I think the worst thing for a man is when you're going through a tough time and you don't feel security in your relationship. Like, you feel like your woman just going to leave you because you're going through a tough time, and she's going to go find another man that can help her have a good time. Right? So when you showed up for me in that aspect, it's like, all right, I got the security. Number one, you gave me the confidence. You spoke life into me. You spoke to me verbally, but your presence let me know that she's here with me, that I can find a way to get through this because she's not going anywhere. Because when you're chaotic, when you're fearful that you're going to lose somebody, you're going to lose your woman, you can't possibly operate at the highest level when you're operating out of fear. So the next one is just potential focused encouragement. And again, that goes back to when I was, when I wanted to go to the University of Pennsylvania. And I'm coming to you like, Asha, I don't know if I did too much by applying to this school, but I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I'm prepared to do this. And you telling me, man, you got this. I done seen you overcome some of the craziest stuff in life. And if you was able to overcome that, you can walk into that classroom and overcome those challenges as well. And hearing that from you, because your perception of me means a lot to me. It means a lot. So to hear you looking to me and see my potential, although I haven't fulfilled my potential yet, and tell me what I'm capable of doing, that's the encouragement I needed. That's the encouragement that all men need when they're striving to become the best version of themselves. You have to let them know that you see the potential in them as well. I think a lot of times women, and there's a lot of reasons for this, but when you fed up with the man, you gonna let him know he ain't S. You know what I mean? But how much do you encourage him to let him know that he can be great? Because that means a lot. The second one is respect. And respect means that you speak highly of your husband in his presence and when you're not in his presence. You ain't going back to your friends. You ain't going back to your family talking about how your husband ain't nothing, how you can't stand him. Like, you hold him in high regard. Like, you put him up there. Well, that was my next point. Hold him in high regard. There you go. You got to hold him in a high regard. Like we talked about earlier in the podcast. You see a lot of people do that with influencers. You see them do that with their pastor, where it's like you put them up here and your husband is down here.
Right.
And you like, why can't you be like such and such? Why can't you be like the pastor? And it's like, no, stop putting other men above your husband. Like, that is the most disrespectful thing that you can do. Like, why can't you be more like Devin? Why can't you be like this with me? Why can't you be like this with our kids? It's like, no, that's not the way that you approach a man, because you're not going to get the response that you think. He's going to completely shut down. Think about how many men are turned off from going to church because they see the way that you look at the pastor. They see the way that you talk about the pastor to your friends and in your household, and he ain't never heard you talk like that about him. All he ever heard was you putting him down. You showing him videos on social media like, look at this. You sending him videos in his DM or from TikTok like, listen to this. Listen to what he just said. You're not going to get the response from your husband that you want to have. That's not the way you do it. And the third part of respect is just praise. And praise is different from encouragement. Like, encouragement is to help somebody along a certain journey, whether they're overcoming a challenge, where they're trying to reach certain heights. Praise is when somebody has already accomplished it and you're expressing admiration or approval for those achievements or characteristics of your husband. I'll give you an example. One time me and you were laying in a bed, and I think this is after I had graduated. We were laying in a bed and me and you was just pillow talking, and we'll get into that in another episode, because pillow talking is a beautiful thing. Like, I know sometimes now we talk about, oh, you a pillow talking behind dude. Like, but when you married, pillow talking is fun. Like, you got somebody you can pillow talk with. You can share everything with. What did I see today? What did I experience today? Did you hear about this? Like, that's cool to me. Like, I never experienced that till I got married. I'm like, oh, pillow talking ain't as bad as I thought it was. But I remember when me and you was laying in the bed, we was doing our pillow talking, and you was like, yo, you inspire me. I said, what? Say that again? And you was like, nah, I'm being serious. Like, I see everything that you've been through over this time period us being together and what you've still been able to accomplish. And that's inspiring to me. And I was like, I ain't never had somebody. I've had people say it, but the way you said it, when it comes from your wife, when your wife praises you, it's like a whole nother level. It's like, yo, let me get out of bed right now. What can I go do right now so she can say something again? Like, babe, look what I just did. Seriously.
I can't.
But how many men do you think go through life and never get praised for anything they do? Like, you're supposed to do this. Right. What I got to praise you for? You're supposed to provide. You're supposed to do this for the family. You're supposed to go to work. You're supposed to achieve this goal. There's so many men who go through life who never get praised, especially from their wives. Like, for wives who are listening to this right now, when is the last time you praised your husband? You show gratitude to your husband for things he have done for you and your family. Thank you for getting up every single day and going to work to provide for our family. I know it's not easy, but I want you to know that that you're seen, that you're appreciated. Thank you for helping out around the house. Yes, you're supposed to do it, but sometimes people need to hear that you see this. But there's a caveat to all this. There's a prerequisite to all this, because I don't want to put this just on the women. Men, you have to be doing something for your wife to encourage you. You got to be striving for something. You got to be doing something with your life. If you're going through a tough time in your life, you got to show that you have that resolve and that fight in you, so that when they're speaking life into you, they don't feel like they're draining themselves because it's falling on deaf's ears. You got to let them know that your encouragement matters to me. That I feel something deep down inside when you speak that life into me. When it comes to respect, you have to be a man of integrity. Or else what are they respecting? If you want praise, do something that's praiseworthy. You got to actually be carrying your own weight, because I can't imagine what it is like for a woman who tries to speak life into a man and he don't want to do nothing. So these are the two ways that you can speak life into your husband. But like I said, men, we have to do more. We have to step. I'm not saying all men have to do more, but you have to show up for your family. You have to show up for your marriage. Because eventually, if somebody continues to speak life into you, they're going to get tired, because you're not doing nothing with the words or the actions that they're sharing with you or showing you.
Yeah, I think it's just about being able to love, honor, and respect your partner. Yeah. Right? It's going both ways. It's hand in hand. Like, when you are able to do what you want someone to do for you unto others, you feel a lot better about things. Things flow differently, right? And so I think what you said of men showing up in a certain space in order for women to be able to say, okay, I can speak life into him. I'm willing to speak life into him. I want to speak life into him. It makes all the difference. Yeah. Especially for those women who may feel like, oh, it has been draining or it has been a challenge, right? The way you show up and present yourself is how it makes it a lot easier for someone to do for you, right? And I think that's the biggest thing what you touched on. Like you said, having a man who you feel like is showing the world who he is. Like what we just said, having that integrity, talking the talk and walking that walk. Who you are, who you wake up as in your household, who you go outside is who you are, period. Like it's all around. Like the type of integrity you have, the work ethic that you have, how grounded you are, how humble you are, like the way you treat others. All of that goes hand in hand to say, you know what? Like I look at him and I want to encourage him. Yeah. Because look at how he's encouraging so many other people. Look how he exhausted himself to so many other people. Look at how he's treating other people. And I know that it's hard. And when his battery is drained from, charging everybody else up, I'm here to charge him up. Mm. I think that's when it becomes easier for a woman to say, oh, it's nothing to speak life in. I don't look at it like, I didn't even look at it as a thing of speaking life. Man. You know what I mean?
This is what I do. This is who I am.
Right. Like it comes natural. Man. Because when I see someone that I love and I care for needing that extra boost, this is what I'm here for. And that's what he's
here.
Do
they know? I know.
That's what I'm saying. Like if you're in a marriage, if you're in a relationship and you're receiving the love and the support and the appreciation, the consideration and the just everything from that person, right? And I'm not putting it on no scale level of, sometimes he does it, sometimes he don't, sometimes it's better than the other. No, when someone is doing things for you and being there for you and showing up for you. When you have a good woman, when you have a good man, right? Yeah. We all have our struggles.
Sometimes,
But
if you're not comparing to other people online.
Right. How that person is treating you, what they're worthy of, right, and what you're worthy of. And so when you have that, it doesn't come as a task to you to be able to do for them or to speak to them in a certain manner and encourage them. It's just what I'm here for. It's what I'm here for.
Right.
And so I want the biggest thing for all of those individuals, whether it be a man or a woman who was speaking negatively about the video or saw it from a negative perspective. I really pray and hope that you're able to experience someone in a love where you feel like speaking life into them is not a task, where it's not draining. It's not a chore. It's not a job. But it's an honor and a gift to be able to just embrace that person, to love that person, to support that person, to encourage them, because that's what I'm here for. I really pray that y'all are able to experience that, because it's a beautiful thing. And for you to not only give it to someone, but for you to receive it as well. Yeah. Because it's so amazing to go through life with your partner and know that they have your back completely, right? Words can't describe it, right? When you have gone through relationships where you have felt turmoil, where you felt defeated, where you felt broken, where you felt like worthless in a sense. We spoke about this, right? It's so amazing and refreshing, and just like the feeling, I can't even describe the feeling. Like I feel it's a completeness and a wholeness to have someone where you know that they support you and they love you and they encourage you just as much as you're giving to them. Especially for me, because like I'm very much a person who loves to be nurturing. Like I don't know, it just comes natural. Whereas like I want to be nurturing to other people, right? And I want to make sure other people are taken care of. And so to be able to receive that from my husband equally, and without it being like forceful or, oh, I have to tell him and I have to show him how to do it. Like it's just, we just do it for each other. And it's so graceful. It's just an amazing thing.
And when you show up and you do it for each other, you get to do each other a lot more.
Here we go. Y'all know he had to throw his little... He had to throw it in there.
I'm just saying that's going to incentivize a lot of men out there.
We had to
go spicy. You do it for them, they will do it to you. Free game.
I can't, you guys. But we hope you guys receive something from this episode, that you're able to look at things from a different perspective, not a painful perspective, but a positive.
I like the way you just did that.
Okay.
You say that again. Say that again, please. Just say it one more time. I like the way you just tied that in at the end.
No, we do. We hope you guys are able to look at this podcast from not a painful perspective, but a positive one. Yeah. And so on that note, until next time, you guys, for real.
Yes, sir.